The work is undergoing major revisions. Inference and romance, the male protagonist Han Yu possesses the ability to travel through time, making different decisions or choices in time. You may be a murderer, a detective, or an ordinary person, a patient, a psychologist, a lawyer, a novelist, responsible for murder cases, an ordinary person's reasoning game, real or illusory. Perhaps you have already seen the truth, or perhaps everything is a dream, choosing the most hopeful and correct future, existence or non-existence. Chapter 1. Sane People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the pitch-black classroom, at some point a ray of sunshine leaked through and fell on the boy's face. The boy's hair was messy, with snow-white skin, sharp corners of his eyes, and a typical melon seed face paired with a small mouth. If it weren't for his hairstyle, he would have thought he was a girl. In no time, a girl opened the door of the classroom and looked at the boy wearing a different school uniform on the table. She walked slowly over to the table, bent down, leaned close to the boy's face, and gently patted his shoulder. "Hello, classmate, did you go to the wrong class?" Whispering softly, the exhaled breath gently caressed the boy's face, and his eyes finally slowly opened. "Ah, please spare me. How come there are still people in charge of sleeping in the elite class? Didn't that mean there was no one present during self-study in this class? Do you know that I..." At the moment he saw the girl, the boy froze. Watch it carefully, it's like the people on TV coming out. "Is that you, Han Yu?" The girl looked at the boy in surprise, wondering why he was studying at this school. "Ah. This beautiful little sister, I don't remember knowing such a beautiful girl. You said, aren't you the number one in the province? What are you doing at this school?" "Ah. What? I'm studying very poorly, okay. I barely passed every subject. How could I possibly be number one? I got the wrong person, little sister." Han Yu exclaimed in surprise. "But the name can't be wrong. The name, the appearance and the voice are all the same. It's all coincidental. How can there be two identical people? Just tell me you are cloned." Han Yu lowered his head and began to think. "I really don't study well myself, and I really don't remember meeting such a girl. The probability of having the same name and appearance is almost zero, so perhaps there is only one possibility. Sister, you probably don't like me, but your approach to conversation is really hard to figure out. It's also very good, at least it gives people a sense of mystery, and the topic can be continued." The girl was obviously angry and pressed her hand on Han Yu's head. "Sure enough, I still got the wrong person. With your personality, you're a thug and a scoundrel, just like those scumbags walking on the street. Do you guys think that talking like this is very popular? Why? I've read a lot of harem novels, and I just think this kind of guy deserves to be beaten. It's better to leave with your tail rounded before I'm really angry, otherwise I don't know what I'll do." The force on my hand increased a bit. "I'll go, it hurts. It hurts so much. A girl like you is strange, isn't it? When a normal person sees a handsome boy like me, they are all very tempted. Besides, you said that there are no two people who look the same and have the same names. What are you making up?" Suddenly, a flying leg kicked Han Yu in the face, and he only felt a blackout in front of him and fainted. I don't know how long it took, but Han Yu gradually opened his eyes. When I woke up, I found myself lying in the medical room. Let you run to the elite class without any worries, and even provoke Momo. Don't you know that she's the last person in the whole school to be provoked? It's okay now, let's just let this kick go for nothing." Han Yu shook his head and looked at the person by the bed, who looked like a young face around 16 years old with a curvaceous figure. "Hello, Teacher Shui, someone is hitting me here. Why don't you help me stand out? You're still talking cold words here. Is there a homeroom teacher like you? Help you stand out?" "I dare not, but I can't afford to provoke Momo. That's the hope of our school. Maybe she will be the top scorer next year. Hello, Teacher Shui, as promised, everyone is equal and not afraid of power. If you study well, you can easily hit others. Teacher Shui shook his head. I wanted to help you, but you went to the elite class to sleep multiple times without being noticed. If this incident spreads, I'll see where you went to sleep and fought multiple times. This is the pace of being discouraged. Hello, why don't you be reasonable, Teacher Shui? They always hit me first before fighting back. I haven't bullied anyone before, have I? Forget it, I'm too lazy to tell you. Anyway, if you want revenge, go on your own. I can't help you. Han Yu put on his school uniform and stood up from the bed. Go on your own, I promise she will pay the price. Leaving the medical room, it was already time for school to end, and everyone walked out of the school gate. Only Gu Momo leaned against the gate of the school gate, as if waiting for someone. A white sedan drove over and stopped in front of her. Gu Momo skillfully pulled open the passenger door and sat in. Hey, what's the origin of that girl? I see she has different cars coming to pick her up every day. Do you think she should? Shoo, don't say it anymore. That's Gu Momo, the school flower and top student in our school. Isn't it normal to have a few men outside? If you're so excellent, wouldn't you just go out and find men? On the car. Han Yu, do you know that today I met a guy who looks very similar to you and has the same name? That guy is really far from you, narcissistic, deserves to be beaten, and has no manners at all. He's really infuriating. Ah. Is that right? Well, it seems that this guy has quite caught your attention. Han Yu pulled off the seatbelt with one hand and pinched Gu Momo's waist with the other hand. Ah, it hurts. You jealous king, he's so far behind you that I can't even count. Besides, I can tie my seatbelt myself, so you don't need to help me. Han Yu carefully looked at Gu Momo. So cute, Momo. Speaking, Han Yu pinched Gu Momo's face again. Why are you always bullying me? Gu Momo looked aggrieved. But you didn't tie your seatbelt today, so you just want me to help you, I understand. Gu Momo twisted his head to one side. Be clever on your own. Han Yu raised the corner of his mouth and placed his hand on Gu Momo's leg. Gu Momo blushed, calmed down for a while, turned his head, and carefully looked at Han Yu's face. It's exactly the same. How could it be so similar? After looking for a while, Gu Momo found that there seemed to be a small bruise on the right side of Han Yu's face. Gu Momo raised his finger and pressed it against the bruise. Ah, what's wrong? Suddenly pressing me, why aren't you in a hurry to go home today? You want me to eat you? Han Yu pinched Gu Momo's leg. It's just talent, it's not really there. Aren't you in pain? Gu Momo's face turned red. It doesn't hurt, what's wrong? Am I mistaken? No, actually I just met that guy who looks exactly like you. I kicked him in the face today. So, do you suspect that we are the same person? It doesn't seem like it's anymore. If I get kicked, I'll expose the fact that you ride different cars every day after school. So what? The whole school knows almost everything, I don't care what they say. But there are many people who don't know, at least 2 people don't know, your chemistry teacher and the boy in the first row who always cleans the blackboard. So what's going on? Chapter 2. Simple Butterfly Effect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's very simple. As long as I talk about this in your class, you will be in a miserable situation. Gu Momo listened intently but unintentionally, as if she had already understood this kind of thing. I know, you're the most powerful, and you have the smallest heart. You always seek revenge on others. How could you say that? It's so uncomfortable not to retaliate even if you provoke me. Unconsciously, the car had already driven to the downstairs of Gu Momo's house. How come you want me to go home so quickly? Gu Momo was a bit angry. Stupid, it will take a while to go home. Hanyu leveled the passenger seat and Gu Momo lay down for a moment. Hanyu unbuttoned his seatbelt and pressed it against her. Go home. Mom, I'm back. Xiaoma, why did someone tell me again today that a car has picked you up from school? Didn't I say I called a car home, Mom? Some people say you're in love, you're only in high school and can't be in love. Got it, Mom, stop talking too much. I'm going to do the exercises. As soon as he entered the door, Gu Momo collapsed on the ground. I'm really tired, Hanyu. You're going too far. The next morning Gu Momo was sent to school by Hanyu as usual, and the chemistry class had just begun. Hey, everyone from the elite class is coming to see us. Gu Momo from your class rides in different men's cars every night and doesn't know what she's doing in the car. She stays motionless on the roadside for more than 10 minutes. Come and see, how can such a student still stay at school? It really affects the reputation of our school. A middle-aged woman on the table looked at the inconspicuous young man at the door, as if she was a bit familiar. She put down her thermos, turned her head, and looked fiercely at Hanyu. Who are you? I don't know what we're yelling at in class. Teacher Zhong, let's take a look at your most beloved student. In the car, I don't know what to do, parked on the roadside for a whole 10 minutes, I feel ashamed. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll smash your phone. Teacher Zhong walked to the door and looked at the video played on Hanyu's phone, his face turning pale. Gu Momo, come over here for a moment. Gu Momo lowers his head. The plot is so familiar. Suddenly, Gu Momo reacts. Isn't it the same as what Hanyu said yesterday? Teacher Zhong, do you still believe him? He fights, disrupts classroom discipline, and deceives teachers and parents. How can you believe him? That's not me in the video, even me. It's a synthesized video. Teacher, I don't think this kind of thing can disturb our class. Hanyu, shouldn't he be serious? How could this butterfly effect be possible? If he had just gone to the door by himself, he would definitely have fallen due to the height difference of the tiles at the classroom entrance. Hanyu saw that the entanglement did not yield any results. Okay, Teacher Zhong, I won't disturb you in class for now. After class, let's chat alone, hehe. You student, you're not a professional. I'll tell your homeroom teacher later and ask him to punish you. Hanyu smiled at Gu Momo before leaving. Teacher Zhong angrily returned to the podium and suddenly fell down while passing by the ceramic tile. Teacher Zhong. A few students in the back row who loved Teacher Dai rushed forward. Just as Gu Momo was about to sit down, someone kicked him in the calf and violently overturned the chair, falling to the ground. The table also fell down and hit Gu Momo's head. When I woke up, it was almost noon. Gu Momo endured the sharp pain on her head and regained consciousness. Teacher Zhong comforted beside her, but Gu Momo didn't listen at all. Hanyu, you are really smart. I really underestimated you. At night after school, Gu Momo was complaining to Hanyu, and the picture became increasingly blurry, as if it had gradually disappeared. Opening his eyes, Hanyu had grown up and was standing opposite a young-looking doctor in a small clinic. Doctor, that's all I remember. It seems like there were two people who were me, but I clearly remember that I did study very poorly. How could I appear in two different places at the same time? At this point, it's still difficult to judge anything from your description. Maybe this is just a story you told me, isn't it, Mr. Hanyu? The doctor shook his head and kept walking with the second hand on his pocket watch. But doctor, are you not confident in your hypnosis skills? I have achieved this level of cooperation in handling cases. Speaking of which, I don't need to do these things at all because I have no motive for committing crimes and have a perfect alibi. Therefore, if you are a doctor who cannot enter my heart even through hypnosis, then don't waste my time. Speaking, Hanyu got up and walked to the door, opened the small wooden door, and turned his head. "Thank you again, doctor, for reminding me of my name." Stepping out the door, the doctor in the room sat slumped on a chair. "How can I be considered a psychologist in front of you?" Suddenly, a police officer rushed in. "Han Yi, what's going on? Did that person say anything or plead guilty?" "Sorry, Cheng'an. I didn't ask anything." His inner defense was too strict. I was about to grasp his grip, but in that moment, I would jump to another story, just like, how should I say it? I feel like I should start with evidence. If I start psychologically, it may be difficult to make progress. The police officer is starting to go crazy. "Don't joke, you are Han Yi, the best psychologist. You have solved many cases for us each time. Nowadays, there are countless high-intelligence crimes, and the other party also knows what we know. When we receive evidence, we need to guess what the other party will do and what they will do." Han Yi waved his hand and then leaned back on the chair, laughing. All right, calm down. I have a rough idea of his movements." Cheng'an also calms down. It's not that he relies on Han Yi. It's really that the suspect is too troublesome. He has no intelligent equipment, no dead corner, no body shape under the monitoring, and even how to get to the police station. The person's identity information only shows that he is an orphan, no father, no mother, no school, no orphanage, no part-time job, or workplace. Chapter 3. Unauthorized Identification. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I know relatively little about things, after all, you wouldn't tell me everything. However, it's definitely false that he doesn't have a smart device. It's just that he borrowed someone else's ID card to register his phone card, but it's impossible to check someone else's phone card. As for the smart device, it must have been destroyed. In terms of learning, I think it's most likely that he bought a book in a bookstore to study, and suddenly disappeared. This is also easy to explain because he is constantly searching for information. A surveillance location has changed its identity, but it is estimated that he will not reveal any details. The victim was killed with a knife, and there were no fingerprints on the knife. There was no DNA detected in the house, so no matter how you go around it, you will definitely pass through this small path on the back street of the victim's house. Fortunately, according to the surveillance footage, only a few dozen people walked on this path 10 days after the incident. Excluding the DNA of these 20 people for comparison, if the extra DNA is found, it will belong to that person, but as mentioned earlier, he will change anyone's identity. Therefore, if not, it is possible that the culprit is among these 20 or so people. As long as you see for what reason, often or occasionally passing by, it is obviously suspicious. Then, control the person you suspect in the police station. If one of them does not come, it will be even more suspicious. Cheng'an listened, nodded, and immediately walked out of the room back to the police station. Han Yi rubbed his temples and looked at the table. You won't be so simple, right? Han Yu, all of this is in your calculations. You've already figured out who the scapegoat should be. 3 days later, 10 days after the incident, 20.2 people out of 20.3 on surveillance arrived at the police station. Captain Cheng, there's still one person left. Can you prove that the culprit was him, the repairman who passed by on the day of the incident? Don't worry, Shaoan, wait a little longer. Another 5 hours have passed. Unfortunately, Mr. Han Yu, this is enough to prove your guilt. You are really a stranger. While playing the repairman, you helped the victim's neighbor repair the TV. We found the fingerprints on the screws on the TV. As long as you compare them, you should admit your guilt. Han Yu lowered his head and played with his nails. Officer Cheng, don't be blindly confident. Maybe he knows he killed someone and doesn't dare to come over. Cheng'an looked at him coldly. Everyone, come and perform a DNA comparison. Compare indoor. Sure enough, Captain Cheng, everyone else's DNA information can be compared, and now only this screw needs to be compared with Han Yu's fingerprint. Start comparison. Chingen laughed. I can say I have caught you. You have been suspected in 30.7 murder cases, but have been acquitted. Unfortunately, this is the last time, and even the most rigorous person will show their innocence. Do you think so, Mr. Han? A few minutes later, the comparison results came out. Comparison results, similarity, 53%, how could it be that the fingerprint on the screw was damaged, or the fingerprint of the victim's neighbor's family? Impossible, Captain Cheng. The victim's neighbor has already traveled a long way and they found an acquaintance to fix the TV. Coincidentally, there was no one living in that room before or after the TV was fixed, only this repairman was seen entering the room. Compare the outside of the room. The commotion is getting bigger and bigger. Officer, can we leave? We haven't killed anyone at all. Can we leave? Yeah, I still have to go pick up the child. My family is coming back, and I have to go cook. When we were called, they said it would only take 1 or 2 hours. It's almost 7 hours now, why don't they let us go? Han Yu lowered his head, played with his nails, and raised his head to shout. Yeah, Officer Cheng, you guys have been stuck with me for a week without any reason or evidence. I'm very cooperative. Chingen rushed out angrily and grabbed Han Yu's collar. Shut up, it's every citizen's duty to cooperate with the police in investigating cases. You murderer, you really think I can't do anything about you, right? A young police officer beside him grabbed Chingen. Captain Cheng, please calm down. He didn't commit the crime at the time, and there was no evidence pointing to him. Stay calm, Captain. Chingen relaxed his hand and sat on the chair. Hurry up and check if there are any other physiological signs in that room. Then go to every surveillance camera in the city to check the whereabouts of this repairman. Yes. All the police started moving. Except for you Han Yu, everyone else can leave now. If there is anything we can help with, please help us a lot. Everyone left complaining, leaving only Han Yu and Chingen in the end. Officer Cheng, I will fully cooperate until you dispel my suspicion. I don't know why you always suspect me of committing the crime. I have no motive or any time to commit the crime, but I don't want to live under surveillance. So please catch the culprit as soon as possible and dispel my suspicion. By the way, I can go to the restroom. Go quickly. In the psychological clinic next to the police station. Hello, this guest, you came so early. Han Yi shifted his gaze from the table. Hello, Dr. Han, I came to inquire about something. Looking at the acquaintance in front of him, Han Yi was also somewhat surprised. Are you Gu Momo? Ah. Dr. Han, how do you know who I am? It's nothing, I saw it a long time ago when you went to the supermarket to buy something and happened to see your student ID card. Gu Momo lowered his head and pondered for a while. Dr. Han, it's a pity that I haven't been to the supermarket. People always go shopping. Han Yi smiled. It seems that your memory is also extraordinary. Gu Momo didn't care and continued to ask. Dr. Han chuckled. I came to ask, is there someone in this world who has a completely different personality and memory? Are you saying, schizophrenia? At least I haven't seen such a person before. I've only seen it in the news, TV, or novels. If you don't mind, you can bring him over. I also want to see such a person. Gu Momo seemed to suddenly become excited. It's not there, right? But I've seen many people with the same appearance as my boyfriend, and they all have different names and personalities. Is it a coincidence? It's not ruled out that your boyfriend may have a common face. Gu Momo was a bit angry. Dr. Han, my husband is very handsome. Sorry for being impolite, I don't think so. It's likely your problem. It's normal to see 1 or 2 of them look alike. If many of them are, it's possible that you care too much about and love your boyfriend, leading to hallucinations. Anyone with a similar physique, height, or appearance will feel the same. I think you should focus more on your life and not all your love on one person. This will cause some harm to both of you. Outside the clinic, Hanyu leaned against the wall, wearing Bluetooth earphones. Gu Momo, I'm getting a bit unsure how to treat you. Chapter 4. Command to commit crimes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why take so long to use the restroom? Chingen sat on the chair, staring at the table in front of him. Yeah, Officer Cheng, my stomach is not good. Please forgive me. Hanyu joked and only heard a team of police officers running over. Captain Cheng, we have discovered the repairman. According to the surveillance footage, we have located him in a building on 2nd Avenue. We have also inquired about his house number and upon entering, we have discovered the repairman named Hussein, a 32-year-old man who was hanging at home. There is also a video of his murder and a suicide letter under his feet, with a pale face indicating that he committed suicide. The door and windows of the room have also been locked. Take me to the scene quickly. Chingen anxiously put on his clothes and rushed to the scene. Hussein's family. Chingen ran all the way to the scene, only to find that there was only one rope on the ceiling. Where have people gone? Didn't they hang themselves, people? The leading police also became anxious. Captain Cheng, the person was just hanging, and we were all closely monitoring it, but for some reason, a corpse suddenly disappeared, like magic. Magic shit, this is clearly a fake death run. Block the entire city, mobilize all police, and immediately search and arrest. Chingen commands all the police on site. Chingen, please stop me. A sudden roar came from afar, and Chingen looked in the direction of the sound. Lee, Director Lee, what's wrong? A tall and robust man who looked middle-aged walked over. You're asking me what's wrong? You detained someone for a whole week without any reason, and their girlfriend came to me. What's wrong? Just because he is an orphan with no relatives, he bullies and suppresses people like this. I have read the report. From 2 days before the incident until the day after the incident, he has been at home every day and the camera at the door has not seen him go out from the main door. Moreover, on the 20th floor, can you tell me that he jumped out of the window? Or can we dig a tunnel at home? But Director Lee, he has indeed been involved in many cases, and every time he is involved, the cases have become unsolved. Our police station now has more than 30 unsolved cases, and this station cannot continue to operate. We cannot even catch the murderer. How can we protect the people? Ching Ani is explaining his words with integrity. That's because every time you waste time on useless people, involvement, what is involvement, from the first random night killing, to the later disappearance, and then to the later arson, where the surveillance cameras at the scene saw him, there are many people who can be suspected. How can you be sure that all these cases were done by him alone, and let go of those who are important to the case? The director roared angrily, and Chingen also shivered with fear. Director, I have checked all those important people, just like this time, every time I have checked. Although they are all suspicious, there is no conclusive evidence. Moreover, we have compared their movements and there is no difference from what they said. But what about this person? The surveillance in the whole city is like being blind, unable to see him, and he appears in the clinic next to the police station every day. He's not monitoring us, what's he doing? Isn't this kind of person suspicious? There is no evidence, no actual progress, just look for a suspicious person, family relationship, interest relationship, which are all the directions of your investigation. But he doesn't even know all the victims, how can you think he is the murderer? Others have no critical evidence, he has no evidence at all, and you have been staring at him for a long time. When you look at him, people will still die. What does this mean? Even if he instructs, it cannot be done. Can it be that he is committing a crime? You should use your time to catch those useful people, everyone, quickly find Hussein, you, Chingen, and immediately release the people from the police station. Such a big basket, do you want me, the director, to retire? If there were better people who could solve the case, I would admit it. Why don't you find someone better than me? The middle-aged police officer drank loudly, and Cheng'an also restrained himself, gritted his teeth and lowered his head. The director's ability is beyond doubt, I will release him immediately. Within the police station, Cheng'an signaled that Han Yu could leave now. Thank you, Officer Cheng. Dispel your doubts about me. I don't like being monitored anymore. It would be better if you could investigate the real culprit. Cheng'an watched Han Yu leave fiercely, feeling very uncomfortable in his heart. That night, Husan's body was found, and after identification, the DNA similarity reached 98%. Han Yu left the police station and walked towards the clinic, unexpectedly seeing Gu Momo. Han Yu, why are you here? Aren't you busy writing a book? Gu Momo bounced over, holding a document in her hand. University bully, you got it wrong again. I went to sleep in your class every day, forgot. Gu Momo looked carefully and then turned his head. It's you again, it's really unlucky. After all these years, I've seen you from time to time, and I suspect you're pretending to be my boyfriend. Speaking of your boyfriend, I really want to meet him too. Didn't he come to accompany you? Do you deserve it? My boyfriend is a famous detective novelist. Just naming you after him has already been associated with him for 8 lifetimes. What's wrong? Bad guy, did the police release you? Hey, let's talk about it first. I'm not a murderer, I'm just cooperating with the investigation. You go first, I'll wait for my boyfriend. Gu Momo became impatient and gestured for Han Yu to leave, and Han Yu was also very insightful. Then I'll go in, college bully. The treatment room of the clinic. Han Yu watched as the familiar person walked up to him. Han Yu. It seems like you always come to my clinic and don't seek medical treatment. Apart from assisting with the investigation last time, we don't seem to be in any hurry. Besides, my next guest is coming in an hour, so I still need to prepare. Han Yi sorted out the files on the table and put them in the drawer. Dr. Han, I'm just so poor that I don't even have the money to find you. How about chatting with me for a while? Han Yu casually sat on the chair in front of the table, crossed his legs, and looked at Han Yi jokingly. I don't have much to talk to you about, I can only tell you that lies need to be managed with countless lies. What you do will be exposed sooner or later, and it's not good to give yourself another life. Can you still escape now? Han Yu stood up and walked towards Han Yi, getting closer and closer. Dr. Han, you will understand me, after all, we are very similar. Tied to my ear, with a cynical tone, coupled with that fair face. Really? I'm honored to be like you, a criminal genius, but unfortunately, I don't have the intelligence you have. Han Yi dodged a position and continued to open the drawer, searching for something. But Dr. Han, don't you feel empty? It feels like your soul is gone. Han Yi stopped his movements, lifted his head, and looked coldly at Han Yu. What do you mean? Han Yu returned to his original position and sat down on a chair. It's nothing, it's just that you should find a girlfriend. Han Yi withdrew his gaze, sat down, and drank tea from the table. It's not you who killed the person. You just instructed Husan to kill the person, and then taught him to cheat, use drugs to cause fake death, and personally use induction techniques to escape. Your people have long infiltrated the police. How could you say that, Dr. Han? I didn't instigate him. He wanted to kill the victim himself. What was his name? I forgot. Look, it wasn't me who killed him, otherwise I wouldn't even remember his name. Han Yu said jokingly. I'm just curious, why did that person listen to you? Who exactly are the people who infiltrated the police station? What is your identity, and what role do you play in it? That Husen probably lived in the identity of his younger brother Husi. Does he have this medical knowledge and intelligence, a repairman? Let's just spare me. It wasn't you who instigated it, could it be me? Han Yu put down the tea in his hand and questioned Han Yu. It's possible it's you, Dr. Han. I've made me suspect you too. You know so well, and if it's me, your guess might be too outrageous. Chapter 5. Time Fallback. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is that right? Mr. Han, it seems that I was completely wrong. I'm sorry my guest is coming. He is a detective novelist. Perhaps chatting with him would inspire me. Suddenly, Momo and Han Yu pushed the door in. Han Yu widened his eyes. No, it's really the same. Han Yu, a reasoning novelist. I don't know. Han Yu, it's really a coincidence. Since high school, I've heard Momo say that there is a person in their school who looks and has the same name as me, and it really lives up to its reputation. Han Yu's face showed a crazy expression, grabbing the speaker's collar with force and constantly tearing. Why did you betray me? Aren't we partners? Why did you come here, why did you meet me, why? Han Yu was almost insane, and the person in front of him was the least he wanted to see. Mr. Han Yu. You're too excited. Do you want to calm down? Dr. Han, look at this. Han Yu looked at the scene before him and was shocked for a moment, then he also calmed down. Miss Gu, take your husband out and I will handle it here. Han Yu took out the pocket watch in his hand and walked up to Han Yu. Half an hour later under Han Ye's treatment, Han Yu also returned to normal. Mr. Han, are you okay? Han Yu shook his head and said he had no problem. Are you, brothers? Or are you, companions? Han Yu asked curiously. It's not a big deal, it's just someone who works with us. He gave up our job and instead wants to push me into the abyss. If I'm not here today, I'm probably already in prison. Han Yu listened to these words and his mouth curved upwards. So, have you admitted your guilt? Han Yu raised his head in shock and looked at Han Yu. What do you mean? Sorry, Mr. Han. I'm a psychologist, but I'm also a citizen, so it's better not to resist. Qingyan rushed in with 2 or 3 police officers and handcuffed Han Yu's hands. Take Han Yu to the interrogation room. Han Yu, you are very impressive, but we have obtained your recording. As long as we continue with the interrogation, you will probably confess. Han Yu's face was full of mockery, as if these police officers were looking at fools. Just you. Just you. Don't waste your energy. Qingyan didn't panic at all, just opened the door of the interrogation room and a familiar person walked in. It's not us, it's him. Han Yu walked into the interrogation room and sat next to Qingyan. Hello, Mr. Han Yu, I just saw you again. Do you still remember? Han Yu sat on a chair, hands propped up on the table, looking at the familiar person in front of him. You traitor should strangle, destroy, and disappear you. Han Yu forcefully tore at his handcuffs, stood up, and the 2 police officers behind him pressed him back into the chair. Han Yu looked at the person in front of him, his lips curled up, but his smile was not just mocking, as if it was accompanied by a few emotions. Mr. Han Yu, calm down. Let me first talk about your criminal history. Han Yu looked at the person in front of him fiercely and clenched his fist. What about the blue work clothes and yellow night lights, Officer Cheng? That's how we know. Qingyan lowered his head and pondered. Blue and yellow are complementary colors. On black nights, green will be added, and on black clothes you sneak around at night, green light will be printed. Han Yu pretended to be relaxed and laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, truly a detective novelist. Everyone can do this kind of thing. Black clothes hide at night, and everyone knows the truth. But I think writing such reasoning in detective novels is too absurd, even I can guess it. Han Yu looked at the person in front of him, somewhat familiar and somewhat disappointed. Mr. Han Yu, you must have done a lot of experiments before. As long as you keep tracking the videos, investigating the whereabouts of the shadows, and touching things, it's conclusive evidence. Would anyone be bored enough to do such things at night? Is it possible that you're a magician? And how could you be so clever? The technique you practiced happened to be the one used in this case. Hanyu patted the table and stood up. Hanyu, why are you? Hanyu leaned back on the chair and shook his head. Because I am also a good citizen, Mr. Han. Hanyu withdrew his crazy expression and sat back in the chair, his eyes gradually emitting yellow light. Why do you do this even if you know you can't catch me? Hanyu sneered, and the time and space in front of him began to distort and blur. In the blink of an eye, time turned back to a year before the case occurred. In a villa, two people sat opposite each other, time passing by bit, and the sound of the second hand turning was clearly visible. How did it go? Did it succeed? Although these techniques are all very basic, they are difficult to associate with and there is no conclusive evidence. Hanyu leaned back on the chair and rubbed his temples. If it's not successful, let's try another method. By the way, you can change your name. I see that soon you will become a best-selling detective novelist. As someone like me, I'm afraid you'll attract attention, and I'm afraid you'll affect my actions. The person on the other side supported their chin on the table with the elbow of one arm. I would do such a thing again, mostly for Momo's sake. Okay, I get it, but it's better to start from scratch, otherwise I won't be able to easily change my name. Hanyu smiled and looked at the person across from him, with a familiar yet unfamiliar face and mixed feelings in his heart. I think so too. The scenery in front of me twisted again, with scenes flashing by and time flying by quickly. Hanyu returned to elementary school. I don't know why, but I have the freedom to manage my time and record every moment, every person, and everything in front of me, so that I can go back to a certain moment in the past. This is the countless times I have used this ability. I have searched for a lot of information, but have found nothing. Most of them are speculations and hypotheses. Whether time is a feeling or an illusion, everyone can accurately feel time, but time is like an illusion, impossible to stop. The past and future, but not the present, I have always felt that I am someone who understands this illusion to the extreme and trusts it very much. Goose, goose, goose. In the scorching summer, the sunlight shone through the windows and illuminated the entire classroom. In class, the teacher led the students to read ancient poems, while Hanyu bored himself by turning his pencil and waiting for the end of class. Perhaps this most boring time was his most comfortable time. Why does Ching'an keep a close eye on himself, even if he's stupid, for so many years without feeling anything unusual? Why did he eventually expose me and make me start over? He knew it was impossible to trap me, but did he want me to go back in time and change something? Because Momo became a best-selling writer, speaking of which, I haven't had the chance to read his book yet, and every time he kills anyone, he tells me. I was taught from a young age that I only need to follow his arrangements to kill. But since I have this infinite ability to try and make mistakes, why do I have to rely on others? Chapter 6. Sudden Bomberman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Has he betrayed me? Because of that woman, with her mind, even if I could travel through time infinitely, it would be difficult to defeat her. Her predicted future is almost certain, and I can see what will happen in the future under the same conditions. I need to find the reason why he betrayed me, and if necessary, getting rid of him is also a last resort. Dingling, lingling, the bell rang for the end of class, and Hanyu dragged his small body out of the classroom. Every time he passed by, a few little girls would look over, with sharp chin, immature face, big eyes, cute and handsome. Hanyu was walking and unconsciously arrived at a corner of the campus when suddenly a child who looked very similar to Hanyu pressed him against the wall. Why did you suddenly come to me? Didn't you say you couldn't meet before the age of 16? The child had serious eyes and a serious smile. Although they had the same face, the temperament they exuded was completely different. Ah, don't do it, this will make people misunderstand. Of course I did, I missed you. The child's gaze became a bit more serious. Let's talk about it in advance. Although you can travel through time and space, I'm just a child, so I'm very naive. Hanyu looked sarcastically at the child in front of him. You. Forget it, time is running out and we don't have time to chat. You need to change your name, don't ask why, just change it immediately. The little boy gently pinched Hanyu's neck with his hand. Are you commanding me? Hanyu raised his hands as if they were very flustered. Hey, don't be joking, of course what I said was for our good, right? Hanyu looked at the little boy with a playful expression on his face. He was so cute when he was a child. This is also the first time I have seen him. Forget it, it's just a name, it's just a code name. The little boy let go of his hand and walked slowly away, his profound and unpredictable temperament fully reflected in him, while Hanyu returned to the classroom and started classes again. The class bell rang, and the teacher walked to the podium. Hanyu was still playing with his pen, lost in thought. To prevent him from meeting and getting to know Momo, emotions will make him shrink back and make him no longer dare to continue doing these things, but we are naturally tools used to do such things. Hanyu, get up and answer the question. The woman on the podium roared with a serious expression on her face. Ah, old teacher, I. Hanyu showed a panicked expression, bowing his head. Come to my office after class. Hanyu sat back in his seat and sat upright, his mind continuing to ponder. Being eye-catching is absolutely not allowed. Although the answer is very satisfying now, it is inevitable to be targeted in the future, and the grades are also not the worst, as long as they are not the best. 5 p.m. After enduring for a day, it can be considered as the end of school. The time at school is very comfortable, but it is limited to people who can make friends. People like me only feel lonely. Entering the bathroom, changing his face, wandering around the school, and after a while, finally discovering the target. Hello class monitor, do you know where Momo is? My younger brother is in the same class as her and accidentally injured her. He dare not apologize in person and said he must apologize to me. Class monitor, who manages the class and is also skilled in interpersonal communication, is the best tool for inquiring about information. Ah, it's Fan, I just saw her walk to the park with a boy from class 4 of our grade. Okay, thank you, class monitor. Hanyu smiled innocently and walked towards the park. Are you really quick to get started and innocent as you promised? I flirted with people who will get married in the future even in elementary school. Within the park Hanyu searched for a long time and finally found them on a bench. The little girl had a book open on her lap, occasionally nodding and laughing uncontrollably. The little boy looked at the girl's face and silently watched, his pen tapping on the book. Hanyu looked at them from a distance, with mixed feelings in his heart. After an hour, the little girl finally got up, put on her backpack, and bid farewell to the boy. The little boy watched him leave and got up to walk towards the entrance of the park, walking along. Hey, are you dating? Hanyu behind the tree suddenly spoke out, and the little boy quickly realized. Key. Our relationship must never be known to a third person. I have doubts about your professionalism when I see you twice within a day. And you, don't you know that emotions only affect your soul judgment and thinking? Hanyu's tone was slightly stern, as if educating his younger generation. It's just a topic discussion among classmates. I'm just trying to better shape your image and make up for the gap in this world. Who do you think will be going to 2 schools to replace you in the future? Momo will only affect your judgment. She is your stumbling block and a heavenly calamity that will kill you. Hanyu became more and more excited as he spoke. And you, Hanyu? The little boy suddenly roared, attracting everyone to watch, but only he was seen alone. Hanyu was stunned for a moment, and then relaxed and leaned against the tree. What's wrong with me? I'm carefree, it's so good. Have you never thought that this is someone else's life for you, and it's not your life at all? Hanyu walked out from behind the tree and held on to the little boy's shoulder. You should know that we are born with this kind of person, and these things can only be done by us. I will help you handle them, Momo. Remember, don't have any emotions. Release your hand and walk away with heavy steps. What's the use of thinking? Anyway, this world needs a demon to eliminate other demons. You can't deceive me. The little boy behind suddenly shouted, and Hanyu turned to look at him. You are actually kind-hearted than anyone else, brother. Before he could finish speaking, Hanyu suddenly flashed behind him and hit his neck with moderate force, causing the little boy to faint. There are some things that I just want to know. I just want your hands to have no trace of guilt. In fact, the previous ending was also quite good, but this ending requires us to reach the age of 30. Momo, I'm sorry, you're the only ordinary person who doesn't care about yourself. If you don't disappear, you'll ruin him. 10 days later, a fugitive suddenly broke into Class 1, Grade 2 of the school, with bombs strapped to his body. My child at home was taught by you. As a teacher, you have a low opinion of others and oppress them every day. Look at the present, they have all become fools. Today, you must give me an explanation. I have spent countless amounts on treatment and medical expenses, but what about illness? There is no improvement at all. Let all the students isolate my child, and you ignore the bullying of my child on campus. Just because he is stupid, not smart, and loves to play, do you have to do this? How do you deserve to be a teacher? How do you deserve to teach and educate people? The middle-aged woman was also frightened and crouched trembling under the podium. The other students also shouted and crouched under the table. Sir, please calm down. I didn't let the students isolate your child, but instead encouraged everyone to try to talk to him. It's just that your child is too unique and doesn't like others to make friends with him. There are also campus bullying. I helped him make peace, but the other party was too rude and unreasonable, and you didn't pursue it at the time. That's why I didn't pay attention. Stay calm. Fart, everyone knows what you're doing. The parents of the students have already said it. Do you think I was deaf when I came to the parent-teacher meeting? Don't you know what they were whispering? You think I'm a migrant worker, so I'm easy to bully. I'm just tolerating. We migrant workers are not as good as you city people, but my patience is also limited. I tell you, you're such a person who misleads people. Today, I'm going to act on behalf of heaven. The man, bound with a bomb all over his body, rushed towards the middle-aged woman and hugged her fiercely. Chapter 7. Momo's Suicide. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The detonator in his hand was forcefully pressed down. There was no expected explosion, only the man closed his eyes tightly. Time seemed to be at a standstill, and everyone held their breath. How could that be? This bomb was still working yesterday. Why is it like this? The bomb man repeatedly pressed the switch in his hand, looking surprised. The female teacher also seized the opportunity and tried her best to persuade him. Calm down, sir. If there's anything we can talk about, we can have a good discussion. Suddenly, a team of police officers rushed in. Give up resistance and surrender obediently. The man was suddenly frightened and immediately took out a dagger from his arms, placing it around the neck of the female teacher. The students began to panic and flee everywhere. Momo was squeezed left and right, and suddenly felt numb all over. He sat on the ground for a moment, but only a few seconds later, Momo stood up again. On the other hand, the man had already been subdued. After the incident, the police learned about the process and cause of the case. How did you get the bomb? 3 years ago, I read a small article about the method of making bombs and wrote about the entire process of this case. I remembered the father who wanted to avenge his child, so I imitated him and made a big mistake. What is that article called? Where did you see it? I'm not sure, I only remember where I read it and what book it was. After all these years, I've long forgotten about it. Don't be careless here. Honestly explain. The man was so scared that he fell off the stool and knelt on the ground. Officer, I have already explained everything that needs to be explained. I really don't know. My wife and children are still waiting for me at home. Please, let me go. I know I was wrong. The man burst into tears, looking as if he was truly regretful about it. Attempted murder can cause social panic and irreparable harm to children. If you still want to go home, wait for the outcome. Officer, officer, officer. The man shouted with all his might, but in the interrogation room, he was the only one left. The next day, the little boy changed his name and called him Han Xian. In the evening, in the same park, Han Xian and Momo sat on the familiar bench. I heard that a person bound with bombs appeared in your class yesterday, right? Han Yen had a worried expression on his face, somewhat anxious and cute. Yeah, when will this kind of brainless person disappear? Momo complained that she was squeezed around yesterday and found several bruises on her body when she returned home. You're quite calm. Alright, let's get to the topic quickly. Today is only half an hour. Momo took out his small notebook, and Han Yu took out a pen from his pocket. He left and right tapped on the notebook, and at the back corner of a tree around them, Han Yu was sitting against the tree, looking at them. I'm sorry, Momo, but it's also for his sake. If you know my difficulties, you will understand me, right? A month later, Momo suddenly died of a rabies outbreak. In the hospital, a young doctor looked at the test report in his hand, lost in thought. The virus is spread throughout the right branch connecting the nerve center, and the right hand is also infected with the virus. It can be determined that it was infected from the hand. Standing next to him was another young man with a Chinese face, a beard, and a young doctor, still carefully watching. The patient said that 2 months ago, she fed a wild dog, which was very well behaved and even helped her lick her wound. There was no sign of rabies outbreak, so theoretically, it should not have caused virus invasion. Chief, could it be that the child was carrying the virus but did not have an outbreak? The child's resistance is relatively weak, and although the virus invasion is rare and slow, they did not pay attention or receive vaccination, which led to the onset and death of the disease. The young doctor put down the report and shook his head. I can't rule out this possibility, after all, no animals have approached her since then. In the corner of the school, Han Xian tightly grasped Han Yu's collar. Han Yu, what did you do? Alright Han, calm down, I don't even know what you're talking about. Han's strength in his hand increased by a few points. Momo died, it was you who did it. Why did you kill her? Hey, don't talk nonsense like that. I didn't do anything. Everyone in the class and the surveillance cameras could prove it that day. I was in class, so how could I do anything? Han Yu spread out his hands and sneered. Is it appropriate for you to use this excuse to deceive me? Han Yu looked at the fierce gaze of the little boy in front of him and sighed. To be honest, you have this IQ since you first started elementary school, and I really admire you. Why did you kill her? The force on my hand is even heavier. Come on, put in more effort, I'm going to die. After hearing this, Han's strength increased in his hand. He slowly took away one hand and took out a knife from his pocket. Hey, no, stop joking. You don't know how to do it. Come on, seriously, I'm you. The white blade pierced into Han Yu's body, and hot blood flowed down. Han, you are really ruthless, just for a woman. Han Yu's eyes gradually turned golden, and time went back to the first time he saw them sitting on benches in the park. Since you are so cruel and deeply in love with someone, I won't fulfill you either. I can't kill her, but it doesn't mean I can't separate you, right? 7 years later. It's still the classroom of the elite class, or the boy lazily lying on the table. Sister, you probably don't like me, but your approach to conversation is really puzzling. It's also very good, at least it gives people a sense of mystery and topic. Hanyu repeated what had happened and tried his best not to make any changes in the future. Sure enough, I still got the wrong person. With your personality, you're a thug and a scoundrel, just like those scumbags walking on the street. Do you guys all think that talking like this is very popular? Why? I've read a lot of harem novels, and I just think this kind of guy deserves to be beaten. Before I'm really angry, you should leave with your tail in your hand, otherwise I don't know what will happen. Momo swept over and Hanyu grabbed it with his hand. Sister, calm down. Let me tell you something about him. Hanyu has tried countless ways to dismantle them over the years, but none of them have been successful. So far, he can only come out on a tray. Momo carefully pondered and let go of his legs. Hanyu also slowly arrived at the responsibility he had seen for the future. That is to say, if we listen to you, we can be together after the age of 30. Hanyu extended 3 fingers. I swear, by then, you can definitely be together. Momo looked at Hanyu's eyes and repeatedly pondered over what Hanyu had said, becoming increasingly convinced. Can I be of any help to you? I didn't expect you to do this for him. No need, just keep living well and stay away from him. Momo left with a disappointed expression on his face. Hanyu looked at the sister-in-law in front of him and expressed his satisfaction. However, I'm sorry, Han Yen, I need your brain. Just lend me a few more years. Outside the classroom, there was a boy leaning against the wall, wearing school uniforms from different schools. In the darkness, he couldn't see his appearance clearly. He could only see his hand rubbing a pocket watch, and the hands on the watch were ticking. Hanyu, no matter what, you shouldn't do this. A few days later, Momo hung himself in the classroom during physical education class, writing a suicide note under his feet. I'm sorry to everyone, my appearance was a mistake. I should leave this world, so that the people around me will be happy. My parents were brutally killed because of me, and my love was forgotten because of me. I am a cowardly person, I dare not face everything, dare not leave the person I love. I can only leave you in this way, forgive my cowardice. I hope in the next life, you are just the boy pondering in the park, and I am just the naive little girl. I only love you. I cannot say his name, but he is the person I love the most, more than my parents, more than my friends, more than the world, more than everything. If time could start over, I hope I never met you. Chapter 8. The Future of Throwing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the classroom of the elite class, Hanyu lazily leaned back on a chair, looking at the clock on the blackboard, as if he were a wooden chicken. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind him, and Hanyu didn't turn back, just continued to look at the clock. You're here, you're quite calm this time. You didn't kill me. The figures behind are faintly visible and optional. You didn't kill people, so naturally I wouldn't kill you. Hanyu was also pondering, this matter is too strange. Do you have any clue about this matter? You told her about our situation, no matter what, you shouldn't do it. Hanyu shook his head and rubbed his temples. I see that you in the future are bound, and you can no longer be as decisive as before. Hanyu, do you really think your actions are right? Hanyu lowered his head and looked at the floor. What about right and wrong? We are born with this kind of person. After chatting with you, Momo felt like a different person, with irritable emotions and a decline in memory. So do you think my words hurt her? The black shadow is hidden in the light, swaying slightly. Do you know about hypnosis? It's strange that Momo's parents haven't died, as they stimulate a person's subconscious thoughts and actions. Hanyu listened to his words and echoed in the empty classroom, feeling lost in thought. Hypnosis. Do you know who did it? During this period of time after school, she kept a distance from me. I didn't see her off again, but I always saw her enter the house before leaving, and she was also watched by you at school. So, do you think the clue is in Momo's house? The police don't seem to believe that Momo committed suicide either. They have already investigated him for a round. Look at this person, he looks familiar. A photo fell from the sky onto the table in front of Hanyu. Take a closer look at the photo on the table. A man in his early 20s is wearing metal glasses, leaning against a chair, holding a pen in his hand, and the pocket watch in front of him is vaguely exposed from his clothes. Han-yi is a very famous psychologist in the future. No, he's you should know it too. Hanyu widened his eyes and then regained his usual expression. I always thought that at the same time and space, there could only be one me, and only I could see them. The fact is that in the same time and space, there is only one you, and different personalities will have different memories and lives. Among these personalities, only you can travel through time. If a person goes back to the past, then someone will come to the future. And why is that? On the day of the incident, I did attend classes in the classroom, not just as I thought, but also under surveillance. Hanyu has no clue, he is the expert in this area. I don't know how much time you have gone through in retrospect, but I am certain that this is not about crossing the past, but about the future you see. Perhaps now, you and me, every plant and tree in this world, are all the future. Time is inherently an indefinable thing, and the feeling of time is only sunrise and sunset. However, the definition of time is also difficult for people to understand and recognize. So perhaps when I was still in elementary school, I was just constantly choosing the future. This is the strange point. If you are choosing the future, most of it may be almost the same. If you haven't changed, then the world hasn't changed, isn't it strange? That is to say, it's not just me, the world I envision in the future has countless me. If I don't change, it's like there's a change around me. If there's no change around me, it's like there's a change in the world. If there's no change in the world, it's like there's a change in time and space. Well, you only have a few years left to live. If you go on like this, if you return to reality, the uninterrupted existence of your personality will lead to you being replaced, destroyed, that is, you will die, and the world will start to become disorderly, without rules, naturally unable to return to the past and see the future. Hanyu lay on the table, his eyes lifeless. Tell me what to do with these things. If this is really my dream, it has been a long time, and I am very satisfied. Yes, in this way, he has lived for more than 100 years, and a pair of hands appeared on his Korean shoulders, white and terrifying, like bright moonlight. So this is a dream, you can travel through any time, don't you think you should relax for a lifetime? Hanyu didn't mean to do such a thing, it's just that the matter hasn't ended yet, it's not yet time. What about Momo? Can you accept a world without her? Hanyu asked back, he had been looking forward to this relaxed life for too long. Anyway, you will always come back. You can spend your whole life together next time. The black figure gradually disappeared, and a few days later, the police arrested Hanyi. Hanyu let go of his obsession and relaxed his life. 2 years later. Starting his college life, Hanyu walked into the school gate carrying a suitcase. Hello classmate, would you like to learn more about the mystery club? Hanyu looked in the direction of speaking and saw a girl with no tied hair, long hair extending to her waist, and a mature beauty on her face. Reasoning, but I'm a bit clumsy. If you're willing to teach me hand in hand, senior sister, I'm still willing to learn. Hanyu picked up the girl's hand and carefully touched it. Suddenly, a tall and strong boy walked over. You're sick, right? Let's see if I can kill you. The fist wind was generated from the right side, and Hanyu flashed backwards. The strong man then made another forward kick. Hanyu used his strength to strike, inserted his elbow into the joint of his leg, and forcefully broke it. Ah, 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 ah. The strong man sat down with a split fork, howling in pain. Hanyu sneered at him, realizing that his skills were not in vain. It seems that your classmates are not very friendly either, let's forget it. The girl held his hand. Classmate who doesn't know, didn't you ask me to teach you hand in hand? I'm willing to. Han Yu's face turned red. Although he looked like a playboy, he was just a young man in his heart. Alright, 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 alright. Han Yu walked anxiously and quickly. This place really can't stay for a minute. Classmate, there will be a club activity tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. You must come and participate then. Han Yu continued to walk briskly, his face becoming increasingly red and unwilling to fade. It's not his fault, after all, he's just a killer who hasn't even touched a girl's hand. Walking into the dormitory building, Han Yu's heart couldn't calm down for a long time. Sitting on the bed, his heart was pounding. Hey, classmate, you came to report so early. I thought I was the first one to enter the dormitory. There are many clubs and performance activities at the entrance, didn't you go and see them? A boy with short hair entered the dormitory, his whole body covered in a sunny atmosphere. Ah. It's not very interesting. It would be great to lie in bed and rest early. Han Yu pretended to be relaxed, and his heart gradually calmed down. No, I think that reasoning club is quite interesting. I've already joined the club, and that senior sister is really beautiful. She even took the initiative to support my chin, it's really beautiful. Han Yu gritted his teeth and clenched his hand into a fist, pressing it against the bed. This woman is just a scumbag, no wonder I touched her hand. She wasn't angry, and there was also that strong man who was mostly dragged by her. Han Yu put away the expression on his face and relaxed his body. Ah, it seems that we have a good fate. I was also deceived by that brother's pretty senior sister. The boy placed his hand on Han Yu's shoulder, and Han Yu exerted force on his left and right hands, causing him to fall to the ground with an over-shoulder fall. Oh no, instinctively, it seems that my defensive mentality is still too serious. The boy was stunned for a while, then turned around and looked at Han Yu with surprised eyes. Oh my, classmate, I'm sorry. It seemed like the wind was too strong just now and it knocked you down. Chapter 9. Inference Society. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ah, really? How do I feel like I've been thrown by you? Oh no, how could it be? It's the wind blew it down. Han Yu quickly helped the boy up, and the farce came to an end after a while. It wasn't until evening that there were only the two of them in the dormitory, and they had been chatting happily. Suddenly, the dormitory manager walked in. You two will be living in this room from now on. The other two who sleep with you will no longer come to school. We will move the other beds in your room later. After saying a word, the dormitory manager turned his head and left. Han Yu looked at the boy in front of him and spent his college life alone with him. I'm afraid I'll be fooled by the sunshine. Great, buddy, it's just the two of us now. Hee 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 hee. Han Yu smiled awkwardly. The boy's name was Li Lang, and the two chatted for a while at night before returning to their respective beds to rest. The next afternoon at 4 o'clock, the two of them arrived at the classroom where the Inference Society was located. First, let's welcome the 4 new members. Han Yu and his roommate stood up, and there seemed to be a romantic relationship between a man and a woman. Let's have a werewolf kill first. Is there anyone who doesn't know how to play? All 4 newcomers raised their hands. Ah, well then, everyone sit down first and I'll introduce the game rules. During the lengthy introduction of the game rules, Han Yu also listened absent-mindedly. When it came to his living expenses, he always directly asked others for money. Who knew that working was so difficult, either being bullied by his superiors or being complained about by customers? The host was still talking incessantly, and finally. The rule introduction is complete. If a good person wins, each person will receive a bonus of 1,000 yuan. If a werewolf wins, each person will receive a bonus of 2,000 yuan. This is the welfare prepared by our club for everyone. Upon hearing that there was a prize money available, Han Yu instantly became energized and achieved victory through his werewolf acting skills, using inducement and logic. Congratulations to the werewolf camp for winning, with each person receiving a prize of 2,000 yuan. In the same camp, there is a senior sister who distributes flyers, as well as that strong man, a sleazy senior with glasses that doesn't look very smart. After the game ended, it was also 6 p.m. and everyone dispersed. Li Lang hugged Han Yu's shoulder. Han Yu, you can do it. It was just so amazing the first time I played. Not only did I get fooled around by you, but those self-righteous old players also had a great time being fooled by you. Han Yu opened Li Lang's arm and hugged him, but this level of intimacy was still unacceptable for a while. Alright, Li Lang, it's just a game, but I didn't expect to send cash. Isn't this a treat for dinner? I'm so poor that the 2,000 yuan is probably the only money I can earn. Can you make me go begging every day after that? Han Yu said helplessly, this relaxed and comfortable life is ordinary and happy. To be honest, my conditions are not very good either. My parents are seriously ill, and now I feel embarrassed to ask for living expenses. This club says that I have money to get for every activity, which is why I signed up. Han Yu looked at Li Lang with a surprised expression on his face. What? What about the others? Everyone seems to have some unspoken secrets, aren't you? I thought you joined the club because of the bonus. Suddenly, a girl walked past Han Yu's eyes. She looked so familiar, and finally, Han Yu recognized her. Gu Momo. How could it be that she hasn't died yet? Han Yu chased after him regardless of everything, and after him, he arrived at a dead end. Looking at the train of thought in front of him, Han Yu laughed. Gu Momo, it's really starting to get interesting. Han, what do you really care about? Li Lang from behind finally caught up. Han Yu, why are you running so fast suddenly? It's nothing, I saw an acquaintance. Li Lang panted heavily as he supported his knee. Just heard you call Gu Momo, do you know her? It has some roots, right? She is also a member of our reasoning society. Our reasoning society is progressive by class, divided into 9 levels, and the activities are also different. The higher the level, the more money you can get, just like your bonus today. 2,000 yuan is 20 points, and we losers will not be deducted points. That is to say, from level 1 to level 2, there are only newcomers. Those senior sisters and seniors are all from higher levels to accompany the game, and every time the person, it's all different, maybe one day you can see her. Han Yu chuckled inwardly, his eyes becoming increasingly fierce. Interesting, Han, do you think you're playing with me between your hands? I'm here to see what medicine you're selling in your gourd. Li Lang didn't see Han Yu's expression, he just continued talking. Han Yu, are you really joining a club without knowing anything? Yes, as they all said, I was tricked in by a very beautiful, senior sister. Who is Gu Momo who died 2 years ago? Is Han Yi innocent? If I return to reality now, then my future life will be in prison. Finding evidence, going back 3 years ago, and revealing the truth is the only way. Afterwards, Han Yu participated in club activities every time and quickly reached level 2. Congratulations to Han Yu on reaching level 2. You can contact Gu Ran for the specific location of the next event. Gu Ran is the scumbag, the woman who distributes flyers. After finishing, Han Yu sat on a bench in the campus park, lost in thought. Han Yu, are you looking at the scenery here? Gu Ran sat next to Han Yu, her long hair fluttering gently in the breeze. Yeah, Sister Gu, I still like to watch the scenery alone. Gu Ran picked up Han Yu's hand and gently touched it. Don't say that, Han Yu, don't you like to touch my hand the most? Han Yu quickly pulled out his hand. I don't like how many men you've touched with those hands. Gu Rengxi smiled and looked at Han Yu's face. Han Yu, are you jealous? You're the only one who touched my hand. Han Yu's face turned slightly red again, and his heartbeat fluctuated slightly. Do you think I will believe you? I originally wanted to use a threatening tone, but when my voice came out, I didn't know why it was so gentle. Han Yu, I swear, only you have touched my hand, and... Gu Ran kissed Han Yu's lips. This is also the first time, this woman, why, this way. Also hope to choose me tomorrow when choosing a supervisor. Gu Ran walked briskly away, while Han Yu was still pondering. People who upgrade from level 1 to level 2 must choose a mentor at level 7 or above. Each game can have one opportunity to seek assistance, and once a mentor has a student, they can no longer participate in the game and receive half of the student's bonus. Choosing a mentor is mandatory, and each level 2 person must have a mentor. At level 3, they can choose to play the game themselves. There are only 3 people who choose themselves as students. The host, the sleazy senior, and Gu Ran. The host mostly wants to get stuck in level 2, because he can always remove the host's tasks in the name of the mentor. Hosting this job is laborious and not pleasing, and everyone is forced. And that sleazy senior, not very smart, doesn't know how he got to level 7, relying on sleazy behavior. After calculation, Gu Ran is still a bit reliable. On the second day, Han Yu chose Gu Ran as his mentor and began the first game of level 2. The game rules require everyone to work together to leave the Chamber of Secrets, and upon reaching the finish line, they can receive a prize of 10,000 yuan. If there are 8 people participating in the game and the prize money is divided equally by 10,000, wouldn't it be less than level 1? Chapter 10. Before arriving at Room 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The location of the game has changed from a classroom to a secret escape shop, but the sign at the door is a bit eerie. The main products of the shop are not the popular horror genre, but competitions and pure intelligence tests. Escaping from this chamber of secrets is definitely not that simple, perhaps in the end, there will only be one winner. The game is starting, please open the door in front of you. 8 individuals are 4 males and 4 females, each with their own mentor. The mentor can see the situation of the contestants and provide useful information to their own students, but this does not mean that each mentor has only one student. Just now, Han Yu saw the information on the big screen outside the door, which looked like a billboard, but there was also something strange. There was a segment of numbers in the corner, and a string of numbers on the screen, which was worth pondering. However, the numbers were too long, only for a moment, and he couldn't remember them at all. Fortunately, he took a glance, so he could ask Gu Ran what these numbers were. Mentors only have one chance to prompt in a game, so it is important to be cautious. Mentors can proactively contact students and, after obtaining their consent, consume one opportunity to prompt and inform them of the information. No one dares to act recklessly, everyone wants to see the reactions of other players, and Han Yu also observes. The man with glasses seems to be very intelligent, while the other 2 boys, one with well-developed leg muscles, should be a sports student, and the other with a chubby little body, may be the reason for the first impression, giving people a less intelligent appearance. There is a strange person with a big hat covering half of her face on the girl's side, a crazy woman who looks rustic, and a sweet-looking girl. If I remember correctly, she seems to be the flower of our school's 3rd year. The other one is slightly inferior to the school flower, but also looks much better than ordinary girls. A group of cowards, I'll drive. The sports student walked forward and pushed open the door. Han Yu was the first to follow up, these people are not to be afraid of. The other 2 boys waited for a while and also walked into the room, while the girls were the last to enter. This round of the game is divided into 4 rounds. The game begins. Please arrive at your destination within 30 minutes. The destination is in front of room 3 downstairs. The straight corridor and staircase are in front of room 50. Looking at the door sign and structural diagram, we are in room 25. The rooms are arranged from small to large, which means running towards the staircase, down the stairs to room 50 downstairs, and then running almost the entire floor to room 3. It's a full 6 kilometers. It's okay for sports students, but it's almost impossible for people with poor physical strength. That's it, it's easy. The sports student immediately ran, and the crazy woman and the girl who was slightly inferior to the school flower also started running, straight to the staircase. The man with glasses, the chubby little boy, the school flower, and the children with hats did not make any movements, and Han Yu was also thinking in place. A few people know that their physical strength is less than 6 kilometers long. 6 kilometers is not a problem for Han Yu, but it can be quite tiring. It's a brain-like game, and with just a little thought, you can think of the shortest line segment between 2 points. The gaps in the ground tiles seem to be larger than those in normal tiles. Smash open the floor, jump down, and run straight to room 3. This distance is only 2,000 meters, saving a lot of effort. Just as Han Yu was thinking, I think we should cooperate. As girls, we can't run that far. From the facility map on the wall, this distance is nearly 6 kilometers. It's not just us, except for the sports student. Almost everyone finds it difficult to persevere, so there must be a better way to reach the finish line. Let's work together to find a solution, which will make it easier to win. The school flower spoke up. Yeah, let's work together to find a way, we can definitely reach the finish line. The chubby boy also agreed. Han Yu didn't pay attention to their speech, just searched around for props to smash the floor, which were sure to be there. The man with glasses remained silent and just looked at them, while the woman with a hat still lowered her head and covered her face. After searching for a while and looking around at the rooms, Han Yu stopped searching. Upon careful consideration, it is indeed better for everyone to work together to reach the finish line. Although the prize money is a bit less, it is always better than not getting a penny. The three of them must have confidence to start running directly. For those of us who are physically weak, we need to find a new way. I have come up with a good idea. Let's look for tools that can break open the floor together, smash it open, jump off, and run directly to room 3, which only requires nearly 2,000 meters of travel. Han Yuzai spoke in detail, and everyone listened attentively, taking action. Suddenly, the chubby little man found a big hammer. I found it, brother, the chubby little man said excitedly. Okay, just smash it open, let's clear the level together and win the prize. Han Yu blurted out. I don't know why, but this sentence seems to have another meaning in everyone's ears. Bang, bang, bang. 5 minutes have passed, and the three people in front have already run nearly 1 kilometer. You too, try to keep up with my pace. I have slowed down, but this is the lowest speed. If it's any lower, we won't reach the finish line. We must persevere, the sports student led the way. The two girls struggled to follow, as if this team was the most harmonious. Suddenly, the sound of smashing the wall came from behind. These people are all so angry that they smashed the wall. Instead of complaining in place, why not give it a try? 2 more minutes later, the wall below was smashed open by the chubby boy. He gave a sinister smile, jumped down with the school flower, and then threw nails all over the ground. Ha ha ha, you fools, we sang it together, and you really believed it. Of course, the less the prize money, the more people get. My strength, combined with her bad behavior, is simply a perfect match. Not only you, but those foolish runners in such a dark corridor will also be covered in blood. The prize money belongs to both of us. The chubby little man ran out holding the school flower's hand, and Han Yu fell to the ground, shouting with a regretful expression on his face. You, how could you? Aren't we partners? Why are you doing this? Isn't it better for us to be together? Isn't it better to pass the later levels? Angry and unwilling, he looked at the figure of the little chubby man who had left. The little chubby man ran away and the man with glasses caught him. Alright, stop acting. Everyone has run away, so let's put aside your performance and come up with a solution. Han Yu suddenly stood up with a serious expression on his face. I have such superb acting skills, why can you tell that you are very dangerous? Han Yu pressed on the shoulder of the man with glasses. No way, it's because you acted too grandiose. Do you see the girl over there? I saw the hated children shake their heads. You see, my acting skills are absolutely flawless. You are very dangerous, it would be wise to eliminate you as soon as possible. There was a hint of coldness in Han Yu's eyes, fleeting in an instant. Hey brother, it's not too late for the next level. Come and think of a way. The shortest line segment between 2 points is a pseudo-proposition.